So I got a story about a buddy of mine on how we met. And anyway, so I don't know, about 15 years ago, I was working for True Green Kimlon. Just trying to get out of the automotive industry and basically kind of starting all over again in life, basically. So I'm over there, and I've been there for a little bit. There's this cat come in, kind of quiet, you know, kind of had a hard face, you know. Nobody really reached out and was talking to him. And he used to come in, and he'd get his stuff and put his route together and leave. And he just really didn't say much to nobody. Pretty quiet, shy. Kind of come across as he was maybe shy. Anyway, so I don't know. He was there probably a few days, few weeks, whatever it was. And I was talking to one of the guys. There was a morning group of guys that sat up in the front office. And they separated themselves from everybody else because they were better than the rest of us. We were all lowlifes. And so me being me, I like to make things uncomfortable. So I used to go up there and talk to them and hang out with them. So they were talking about this guy. You know, there was something wrong with him, you know, bad attitude. And I'm like, oh, bad attitude. Right up my alley. So a bunch of us used to meet together at a Whataburger over in Garland. Every morning we'd eat breakfast a little bit and then go on our merry little way. So I went out of my way to invite this dude with a bad attitude to come hang out with us, man. You know, we're the rejects, so come hang out with us, man. Come eat breakfast with us. So, you know, in his little way, well, okay, all right, that's fine, whatever. Just kind of nonchalant, you know. It really didn't seem like it meant anything to him, and I didn't really think he would even show up, you know. So we're sitting there, and walks this guy, and he's a little over 6 foot tall, kind of a big guy. So he walks over there, and we started talking and kind of getting to know him a little bit. He just moved in from Georgia. I mean, it seemed like a pretty decent guy. And I'm like, you know, this guy doesn't have a bad attitude. You know, I think he's just quiet. So every morning we would all meet, and he would show up, and then kind of getting to know the guy. No bad attitude at all. I mean, he's just a normal guy that, no big deal, you know, and kind of getting to know him. His name was Chris. So we're getting to know him, you know, and he was into some music that was European music or something like that. And they're like, those guys claim to be vampires or whatever. And so, and Chris used to paint his fingernails black. So it kind of fit that little realm, kind of a touch of goth, but not really goth, right? He really didn't completely fit that. But anyway, so one day those guys were like, hey man, we see that you guys are kind of hanging out a lot, you know, that Chris guy. I'm like, yeah, he's not too bad. And they're like, man, there's something wrong with him. You need to stay away from him. There's just something not right. And I'm like, what do you mean, dude? Man, there's something not right about that guy. I'm like, look, man, I've kind of gotten to know him. You know, okay, look, he's into devil worship, you know, sacrificing animals and drinking animal blood and all that, you know, vampire stuff. I said, if you get past all of that, he's really not a bad guy. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, man. And I said, he's part of this group where, like, every couple of weeks, man, they go and, you know, get cats and dogs and sacrifice them and drink their blood. And I said, he brings blood in a container every now and then. He drinks blood while he's at work during certain times of the cycle of the moon. They are completely like, no way. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, he's really not a bad guy, man. He's a really nice guy. You really ought to talk to him and get to know him. They're like, no, man. Oh, well. I don't know. A short time later, we're all out there at Whataburger eating, and Chris goes like, man, what's up with those guys that are in that front room up there? I'm like, nah, they're kind of snooty, you know. They've been there a long time. They're all good friends, and they just kind of think they're better than everybody else. He's like, well, I mean, I've tried to talk to them, and I come in there and I try to talk to them, or I'll walk in there to set up, you know, kind of put my route together, and I'll come in there where they're at. And when I come in there, they all get up and walk out all at the same time. They leave. It's like, all right, well, it might be because they think you're a vampire. He's like, what? Well, I mean, they already said you had a bad attitude and that there was something wrong with you. And, you know, they talk about your fingernails being painted black. And, I mean, they pretty much already had in their head, you know, this is who you were. You know, give them a little more to chew on. You know, it didn't seem like it was quite enough to really keep them completely freaked out. So I added to it a little bit, you know. I mean, so I told him you sacrificed animals and drank blood. And so Chris, he thought it was hilarious. And so the next day, he comes up there with a Gatorade bottle. He peels the label off of it, and it's fruit punch. He comes up there. Those guys completely freaking, and they leave it completely. They're like, literally, they are scared of Chris, man. Oh my God. When he come in here with that Gatorade, those guys' eyes freaking got big. They're thinking, freaking, oh my God, he thinks he's bringing blood to work, to eat, to drink. Oh my God. Oh, so those guys, so Chris comes in there and I'm like, hey, what's up, Vamp? That was the first time I called him that. That's his nickname. Those guys freaked out. They're thinking he's going to come up there with a weapon and just murder everybody. Oh my God. They're like, dude, what is wrong with you? I'm like, what, man? Like, you're calling him Vamp. I'm like, that's what he is. He's a vampire. No, man, you don't say that. I mean, he's crazy. He's drinking blood. I'm like, man, don't drink it with him. I mean, what's the problem, you know? Oh my God, dude, those guys, when he come in there with that fruit punch, oh, God, the look on his face. Oh my God. So I've told Chris about that. We've been friends now for about 15 years, man. And I tell you what, gold. You know, and I know Chris is going to be watching this. Like I said, he's one of my best friends. You know, I would compare him to my buddy Ray Grass as far as the level of friendship we have. Oh, you know, these are I've been very fortunate in the friends that I've had because they are just absolutely good people, and you know, they've been good influence on my son and just a great part of my family. But anyway, I figured that would be a story that everybody would truly enjoy, you know. So the moral of it is, I mean, there is a moral to this. Don't judge people. I mean, come on, man. You know, they didn't even know the guy, never said a word to him, and they already started judging him, you know. And that's at the end of the day, I don't care how good of a person you think you are not good enough to judge somebody. You're judging because you are hiding something in yourself and you're trying to make it seem like it's okay. Well, it's not okay. And neither is judging people. You don't need it. And if I would have been those guys, I would have missed out on one of the best people I would have ever met in my life. Chris is one of those guys. He is one of the absolute best people I've ever met. And here we are 15 years later, and he is one of my best friends. We can go months without ever talking. I still can't get that out of my mind, those guys, their eyes. Anyway, we can go months on end and not talk and make a simple phone call. It's like no big deal, man. You know, I mean, there's a comfort zone there. We just know that we have busy lives. You know, we don't work together. We don't really do anything together anymore. But he's still one of my best friends, man. You know, like today, he called to check on me because of these stories. And he called me to check on me going, man, you old people, you know, I know what happens when y'all start doing stories. I'm like, man, old people, freaking jerk. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed that one, because that one, I can't help but laugh every time I even think about that story, you know. And to this day, Vamp is his name, and that's the name he is recognized by everybody that knows me has heard of Vamp at some point. They may not have met him, but they've seen him, or they've heard about him, I mean. But I've got 2 other stories I'm going to tell in regarding Chris, and I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm sorry this was a little long, but man, we've all got those friends, right? So I hope you do. We'll talk to you soon. Y'all take care.